from Tory and Megan's now infamous IG Live before the shooting.
My gosh! My gosh! Megan, you are out of this world. Can we get 10 last seconds before you go out of here? Let's go.
To Tory publicly defending himself as the accusations gained momentum.
She knows what happened. I know what happened. And we know that what you're saying and what the alleged things and the alleged accusations of my name is are not true. It's falsified information.
In this video, we're going through some of the last haunting moments of Tory Lanez caught on camera, and some of them are so shocking, it's hard to believe they actually happened. The quarantine radio era.
My gosh! My gosh! Megan, you are out of this world. Can we get 10 last seconds before you go out of here? Let's go.
In early 2020, as the world was getting rocked by COVID and lockdowns had everybody on house arrest, Lanez found a fire way to connect with the fans and other celebs through what would become legendary in the culture, quarantine radio. One of the most talked about moments in quarantine radio's short but impactful run came when Megan Thee Stallion pulled up to Lanez's Instagram Live around late March 2020. This appearance would later take on some serious dark vibes given what would pop off between them, but at the time, it was just another high-profile guest adding to the show's clout. Launched in mid-March 2020, Tory Lanez's Instagram Live series became the move for entertainment-starved audiences looking for something to take their mind off the pandemic. The setup was basic, but straight fire. Lanez would host regular IG Live sessions from his crib, spinning tracks, engaging with fans, and getting celebrity guests to pull up via video for interviews, performances, or just kicking it. What made quarantine radio hit different was Lanez's charisma, his willingness to push the envelope, and his ability to get high-profile names to join the function. The sessions blew up quick, reportedly pulling tens of thousands of viewers per stream, with some lives hitting over 100K watching at once. That ain't no small feat when every celeb and their mama was trying to go live during lockdown. Media outlets like Billboard, Complex, and The Source were all over it, giving Lanez his props for providing the vibes when traditional entertainment spots were shut down. Quarantine radio became a sensation for its unfiltered and high-energy content, quickly gaining a reputation for wild entertainment. Twerk contests, where participants joined the Instagram Live to show out, became a staple, alongside freestyle battles, cash prizes, and merch giveaways. Tory Lanez branded the experience with his signature catchphrase, "Quarantine, quarantine, quarantine," a chant that fans enthusiastically echoed. His infectious energy created a much-needed virtual party during lockdown, offering people a release from isolation. During one notable appearance, Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez shared a lively, playful exchange that reflected their dynamic at the time. Megan was engaged, bringing her signature charisma and connecting effortlessly with Lanez's audience. Their interaction was all positive, with no signs of the conflict that would later define their relationship. The significance of this moment can't be overstated when you look at what went down later. The fans were eating it up, with the live reportedly breaking viewership records for quarantine radio. It was a cultural moment that captured how people were finding ways to connect during the early pandemic days. Beyond Megan Thee Stallion, quarantine radio hosted a stacked lineup including Drake, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, Doja Cat, and Young Thug, solidifying its status as must-see content. Fans would tune in regularly, never knowing which big name might make a surprise appearance, creating appointment viewing that had become rare in the streaming era. However, quarantine radio wasn't without its drama. The sometimes explicit content, especially the twerk contest, caught heat from some corners for objectifying women. In April 2020, Instagram temporarily suspended Lanez's account for violating community guidelines, probably due to some of the explicit content. This suspension kicked off debates about censorship, with Lanez claiming the platform was trying to silence his cultural expression. Always on his hustle, Lanez flipped quarantine radio's popularity by dropping merch like hoodies and tees. The series became part of his brand, and he would reference it in his music and public image later on, showing his knack for turning cultural moments into money moves. The quarantine radio era showed Tory Lanez at perhaps his most universally respected, a creative entertainer who found a way to bring the vibes during a tough global moment. It showcased his talents not just as a musician, but as a charismatic host and cultural curator. The series effectively ended in 2020 after the July incident with Megan Thee Stallion and Lanez's subsequent legal troubles, marking a dramatic shift in his public narrative. What makes this footage particularly haunting is the stark contrast between the carefree, lit atmosphere of quarantine radio and the serious legal battles that would soon have him fighting for his freedom. The good vibes of quarantine radio would soon give way to one of the most talked about incidents in recent hip-hop history: the shooting incident and arrest. On that fateful summer night, Lanez, Megan Thee Stallion, real name Megan Pete, Megan's homegirl Kelsey Harris, and Lanez's security were leaving a function at Kylie Jenner's Hollywood Hills mansion. What started as a night of popping bottles among the crew quickly switched up into a situation that would lead to gunplay, cops, and eventually a bid. According to court testimonies and police reports that later came to light, an argument popped off inside the whip they were riding in. The beef allegedly escalated when Megan came at Lanez's rap skills, saying he wasn't on her level as an artist. In response, Lanez allegedly disrespected Megan's career, triggering a heated back and forth with personal shots being fired. As tensions rose, Megan demanded to be let out of the vehicle. According to Megan's testimony, as she walked away from the SUV, Lanez leaned out of the vehicle's window, yelled, "Dance!" and let off multiple shots at her feet with a semi. Megan recalled feeling immediate pain and dropping to the ground, crawling toward a nearby driveway to take cover, fearing for her life. The LAPD responded to reports of gunfire in the area and pulled over the SUV about a mile from where the shooting went down. Dramatic police helicopter footage caught the stop, showing officers commanding everyone in the vehicle to exit with their hands up. The footage, which later made rounds online, showed Megan limping as she followed police instructions, with blood visible from her foot injuries.
Backup area supervisor following possible shooting suspect, Hollywood and Pontiac.
Avoid coming.
Where are your windows? Where are your windows?
During the stop, police found what they described as a warm-to-the-touch burner inside the vehicle, leading to Lanez's immediate arrest on a charge of carrying a concealed weapon in a vehicle. Notably, at this point, Megan didn't immediately point the finger at Lanez as the shooter, instead telling police she had injured her foot by stepping on broken glass. She would later explain this decision came from fear of potential police violence against black people, especially given the heightened tensions following George Floyd's murder in May 2020. Following his arrest, Lanez posted the $35,000 bail for the weapons charge, but this was far from the end of the drama. What makes this incident particularly significant isn't just the alleged shooting, but the digital trail of evidence and testimony that would follow. Much of it played out in front of the world on social media. One of the most damning pieces of evidence would later surface in the form of a recorded jail phone call Lanez made to Kelsey Harris just hours after the incident, while Megan was still in the hospital. In this call, which would become a key element of the prosecution's case, Lanez expressed regret and blamed his actions on being twisted.
So drunk, just didn't even understand what the fuck went on, bro. Like, whatever. Yeah. But, you know, regardless, that's not gonna make anything right. And that's not gonna make my actions right, bro. But I'm just deeply sorry, bro.
What makes the footage from this incident particularly haunting is how it captured the immediate aftermath of a violent event that would change both artists' lives forever. The police helicopter footage, showing a wounded Megan following officers' commands, stands in stark contrast to her confident, energetic persona on stage and in her music videos. Similarly, the audio of Lanez's jail call, with its tone of confusion and regret, offers a rare glimpse into a vulnerable moment for an artist who typically projected strength and confidence. This incident marked the beginning of a legal saga. The next footage on our list contributed to things taking an even darker turn: Megan's Instagram Live revelation.
Just cool woman. Like, I don't be with nobody, I don't do nothing to nobody, but y'all mother really dragging it. Like, I tried to just be cool, stay out the way, because at the end of the day, I'm really a real.
The August 20th Instagram Live represented a turning point. Visibly heated and in her feelings, Megan directly accused Tory Lanez of shooting her, marking the first time she publicly pointed the finger at him as the shooter. This 10-minute session was a clap back to what she described as Lanez's team spreading cap through blogs to discredit her account of events. Prior to this definitive statement, Megan had gradually revealed more details about her injuries. In a July 27th Instagram Live session, she had confirmed she was shot in both feet, requiring surgery to remove bullet fragments, and expressed her emotional distress over the incident and subsequent online speculation. However, she hadn't named who pulled the trigger, creating space for rumors and cap to flourish.
I'm from Houston. I'm from the outside. It ain't like let me go run and tell my business to the let me go run and tell my business to the police. Like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never been that type of person. Like, but I'm not gonna let y'all keep playing in my face. And I'm not gonna let this nigga playing in my face either. So, since y'all hoes so worried about it, yes, this Tory shot me.
In the live, Megan provided a play-by-play of the night, stating there were 4 people in the SUV, herself in the front passenger seat, Lanez in the back, her homegirl Kelsey Harris also in the back, and Lanez's security driving. She described an argument that broke out, her decision to exit the vehicle, and the shocking moment when Lanez allegedly shot her as she walked away. A particularly significant aspect of this Instagram live was Megan's explanation for her initial reluctance to tell police about the shooting. She cited fears of police violence against black people, especially given the heightened tensions following George Floyd's killing. Earlier that year, this kept it real about her decision, highlighting how considerations of race and policing influenced her actions in the immediate aftermath of the shooting.
The police was literally killing black people for no reason. Soon as the police tell us all get out the car, the police is really aggressive. I think I'm about to tell the police that us black people, got a gun in the car? We got a gun in the car so they can shoot all of us up. I'm scared. It's over us and some more shit.
Throughout the live, Megan forcefully shut down claims that she was cut by glass rather than shot, showing evidence of her injuries and emphasizing the severity of the gunshot wounds. She expressed frustration at the skepticism and disrespect she faced online, particularly the jokes and memes about her trauma, and questioned why she would make up such an incident. The impact of this Instagram live was immediate and far-reaching. It shifted the narrative from speculation to a direct accusation, prompting widespread media coverage and public discourse. In the legal realm, it led to a protective order against Lanez, requiring him to stay 100 yards away from Megan and refrain from contact. However, it also sparked backlash from some in the hip-hop community and online, with accusations of Megan snitching or capping, demonstrating the complex dynamics at play. What makes this footage especially haunting isn't just the accusation, a woman publicly calling out an industry peer for violence, but the sheer emotional weight behind it. Megan's frustration, pain, and unwavering resolve are on full display, offering a raw glimpse into the human impact beyond the headlines and social media debates. Yet, this very footage would soon ignite an internet battle, sparking heated discussions across platforms, something we'll explore next. Tory's denial and album release.
She knows what happened, I know what happened, and we know that what you're saying and what the alleged things and the alleged accusations of my name are not true. It's falsified information.
Lanez took to Instagram Live to address the allegations directly to his fans. This lengthy session would become another crucial piece of digital evidence in the unfolding saga. Following Megan Thee Stallion's public accusation on Instagram Live, Tory Lanez stayed quiet for several weeks, leaving many to wonder how he would respond to the serious allegations leveled against him. His initial strategy appeared to be laying low, a notable shift for an artist who had built a reputation for keeping it 100 on social media. This silence, however, would not last long, and when Lanez did finally address the allegations, he chose to do so in a manner that would prove both controversial and commercially calculated. On September 25, 2020, approximately a month after Megan's Instagram Live revelation, Lanez surprised fans and critics alike by dropping a 17-track album titled Daystar, named after his government first name. Rather than issuing a simple statement or calling a press conference, Lanez opted to address the shooting allegations through his music, essentially turning his defense into a money play. This unusual approach immediately drew criticism from many who viewed it as exploitative and foul, particularly given the timing. The album dropped just a day after the grand jury decision in the Breonna Taylor case, leading some to accuse Lanez of attempting to capitalize on a moment of collective grief and outrage. Daystar was essentially a concept album built around Lanez's denial of shooting Megan Thee Stallion. Throughout the project, he maintained his innocence, suggesting alternative narratives of what went down that night, and claiming he was being framed. The album's opening track, Money Over Fallouts, set the tone with bars directly addressing the allegations. Megan people trying to frame me for a shooting, but them boys ain't clean enough. In tracks throughout the album, Lanez questioned Megan's account, suggested that the wounds couldn't have been caused by bullets given the reported lack of bone or tendon damage, implied that Megan's team at Roc Nation was orchestrating a campaign against him, and even insinuated romantic jealousy as a potential motive for false accusations. The album represented not just a denial, but a comprehensive counter-narrative, delivered through the medium that had made Lanez famous in the first place. The release of Daystar marked just the beginning of Lanez's public defense. On October 20th, 2020, almost a month after the album's release and shortly after being formally charged with felony counts related to the shooting, Lanez took to Instagram Live. During the live, Lanez maintained his innocence, calling Megan's account not true while questioning various aspects of her story. He focused particularly on discrepancies he perceived in early reports about the incident, noting that initial TMZ coverage mentioned glass injuries rather than gunshot wounds.
I think that they're very important, and I know that there's been a lot of speculation about the things that I've been going through and how I've been dealing with them.
Significantly, despite his denial of responsibility, Lanez referred to Megan as his friend during the live, stating, "She's still my friend no matter what. Even if she doesn't look at me like that, I look at her like she's still my friend." This framing of their relationship, despite the serious allegations between them, struck many viewers as sus or cap.
No matter what, even if she doesn't look at me like that, I look at her like she's still my friend. In the times that we were together or around each other, we've had nothing but joyous moments and good moments.
During Lanez's Instagram Live, Megan responded in real time on Twitter, now X, writing simply, "This genuinely crazy." This brief but pointed clapback underscored the ongoing tension and public nature of their beef, with social media serving as the battlefield for competing narrative. What makes this footage particularly haunting is the stark contrast between Lanez's composed, seemingly reasonable demeanor and the gravity of the accusations against him. Throughout the Instagram Live, he maintained a calm, sometimes even sympathetic tone, presenting himself as the victim of false allegations and media bias. This performance of innocence and rationality would later be contrasted with evidence presented in court, including the emotional jail call to Kelsey Harris, creating a disturbing dissonance between public persona and private behavior. Viewed now, with the knowledge of Lanez's eventual conviction, these moments take on an even more unsettling quality. They represent not just denial, but an elaborate multi-platform effort to shape public perception, an effort that ultimately failed to convince a jury, but succeeded in deepening divisions within the hip-hop community and among fans. Tory's denial couldn't stop the inevitable. What happened next was beyond his control. The trial and conviction. After more than 2 years of delays, legal maneuvering, and public speculation, Lanez's trial began on December 12, 2022, at the Clara Shortridge Foltz Criminal Justice Center in Los Angeles, presided over by Judge David Hereford. The prosecution, led by Deputy District Attorneys Kathy Ta and Alexander Bott, presented a case centered on Megan Thee Stallion's testimony, physical evidence, and corroborating witnesses. Their narrative was straightforward. Following an argument in an SUV leaving Kylie Jenner's party, Lanez shot Megan in a fit of anger, causing serious injuries that required surgery. Megan's testimony proved both powerful and controversial. Taking the stand on December 13, 2022, she provided a detailed account of the shooting, describing how Lanez allegedly fired at her feet after shouting, "Dance." Her testimony also revealed the emotional and professional toll the incident had taken on her life, including death threats, ongoing harassment, and criticism from within the hip-hop community. One of the most compelling moments came when Megan described her reluctance to report Lanez initially, citing her distrust of the police as a black woman in America and fears of escalating the situation. She also revealed that Lanez had allegedly offered her $1 million to stay silent about the shooting, claiming he was on probation and couldn't afford the legal trouble. The trial featured several key pieces of evidence beyond Megan's testimony. Medical records confirmed bullet fragments in her feet, aligning with her account of being shot. A text message from Kelsey Harris to Megan's bodyguard sent minutes after the incident read, "Help Tory shot Meg 911, providing real-time evidence supporting Megan's claims. Perhaps most damning was the recorded jail call Lanez made to Kelsey Harris hours after the shooting, in which he expressed remorse and attributed his actions to being twisted. While he never explicitly admitted to shooting Megan in the call, prosecutors argued the context made it clear what he was apologizing for, especially given that Megan was in the hospital being treated for gunshot wounds at the time.
I think it was just too drunk, bro. You know what I'm saying? When I got to the house, Shorty like all top. He gave me like 5 shots.
Lanez's defense, led by attorney George McDejian, presented an alternative theory that Kelsey Harris, not Lanez, was the actual shooter, motivated by jealousy over Lanez's relationships with both women. They highlighted inconsistencies in witness testimony, particularly Harris's reluctance to fully corroborate her previous statements to prosecutors when on the stand, and pointed to the lack of Lanez's DNA conclusively found on the burner. After 2 weeks of testimony and 2 days of deliberation, the jury reached its verdict on December 23, 2022. Tory Lanez was found guilty on all 3 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, carrying a loaded unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging a firearm with gross negligence. The courtroom reportedly erupted in chaos following the verdict, with Lanez's father, Sonstar Peterson, shouting about the wicked system before being escorted out. Sentencing was delayed multiple times as Lanez changed legal teams and filed unsuccessful motions for a new trial. Finally, on August 8, 2023, Judge Hereford sentenced Lanez to 10 years in prison, crediting him with 305 days for time served in house arrest. During the sentencing hearing, Lanez expressed regret for his poor decisions but maintained that he was not the shooter, a position he has consistently held despite his conviction. What makes the trial footage particularly haunting is how it contrasts with the carefully crafted social media narratives both artists had presented to their fans. In the courtroom, stripped of filters and editing, raw emotions and contradictions were on full display. Megan's testimony revealed not just the physical trauma of being shot, but the psychological impact of being disbelieved and vilified. Similarly, the evidence presented against Lanez, particularly the jail call recording, offered glimpses of vulnerability and remorse at odds with his public defiance. Despite his circumstances, Tory held on to hope until that hope took a drastic turn. Prison recordings. The footage, which TMZ called haunting, opens with Lanez going hard with his verses for an upcoming project. We see bro locked in, phone to his ear, delivering his rhymes with that signature intensity in what looks like a common area of the prison. Lanez is in his bag, seemingly unbothered by his surroundings, completely zoned into his craft. Despite being locked down at the California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi, Tory Lanez has found ways to maintain his artistic grind and public presence, demonstrating remarkable hustle and ingenuity in the face of significant constraints. Perhaps most notable among these efforts is his 8th studio album, Peterson, dropped on March 7, 2025, recorded entirely while behind bars. Peterson, named after Lanez's government, serves as a sequel to his 2020 album, Daystar, and represents a unique achievement in music production history. Lanez described it as the first ever in real-time prison album, highlighting the unprecedented nature of producing professional quality music within the restrictive environment of a max security prison. The 20-track project features guest appearances from various artists, including Davo, Jaquain, King Midas, Max B, Paul McKay, SOS, and even blood relatives such as his son Kylon, Pop Sunstar, and siblings DSTNY, Yoko Gold, and Wolfgang. The recording process for Peterson was nothing short of legendary. According to Lanez himself, he and his engineer developed a method to create studio-quality recordings over the prison phone, an achievement that came after about 20-something to 30-something ups and mistakes. This innovative approach allowed him to capture what he described as raw emotions like pain, hunger, tears, and cries, giving the album an authenticity that would be impossible to fake in a traditional studio setting. In February 2025, multiple posts on X reported a particularly wild moment in the album's creation. Lanez was recording music for Peterson when a prison riot jumped off, disrupting the session. Footage of this incident showed Lanez in the middle of spitting a verse when chaos erupted, forcing him to temporarily pause the session. According to these reports, he was rapping lines like, $500 on the Zelle will make him do gymnastics. Seeing that run up to the yard and he got backflipped when the disturbance began. Despite being affected by pepper spray used by COs to squash the riot, Lanez reportedly told the camera operator to keep the camera on, fuck it, potentially to document the incident for a music video or to highlight the authentic prison environment. One specific track, Free Me, from the album reportedly includes audio from this riot, capturing the raw reality of life behind bars and adding to the project's street credibility. Upon its release on March 7, 2025, Peterson received mixed reviews from critics, but demonstrated Lanez's continued relevance despite his incarceration. The album was projected to move 24,000 units in its first week, debuting at #22 on the Billboard 200, marking Lanez's 10th charting album. Critics were split on the project's merits. Rolling Stone noted Lanez's effective use of his villain persona to stoke curiosity, though it criticized the album's misogynistic undertones. Shifter praised it as one of Lanez's best and most personal works, highlighting its authenticity, while other outlets questioned the ethics of the album's existence and its potential use to gain favor for a possible pardon. The album's content provides insight into Lanez's mindset behind bars. Tracks like Free Tory express his hope for release in 2025, while others such as Verdict Day Ex-Lawyer Fees address his trial and perceived betrayals. The song Guide Me Through the Storm features his father invoking spiritual and historical narratives, linking Lanez's imprisonment to broader systemic issues. Lanez also uses the album to address personal relationships, notably referencing Iggy Azalea in $9 IDEX Amethyst, and showing love to Chris Brown for financial support in TDFX LA County Jail. What makes the prison recordings and Peterson album particularly haunting is how they demonstrate Lanez's determination to maintain his artistic voice and public presence despite the significant constraints of incarceration. These recordings represent an unprecedented fusion of technology, creativity, and resilience, showcasing Lanez's refusal to be silenced by his circumstances. At the same time, they raise complex questions about the ethics of platforming and potentially profiting from the work of convicted felons, especially in cases involving violence against women. We've reached the final item on our list. Brace yourself, because things only get darker from here. The prison stabbing incident.
Apparently, they were trying to downplay the fact that Tory's injuries were pretty much life-threatening. Apparently, he was stabbed 14 times, 7 to the back, 4 to the torso, and 2 times to the head, and including one to the left cheek.
The most recent and perhaps most disturbing chapter in Tory Lanez's ongoing saga popped off on May 12, 2025, when the incarcerated rapper was violently attacked by another inmate at the California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi, California. This shocking incident, which nearly had Lanez catching a body bag, added another layer of complexity to his already controversial narrative and sparked renewed debate about his case and conditions in the American prison system. According to official reports and a statement posted on Lanez's verified Instagram account, the attack went down around 7:20 a.m. in a housing unit at CCI, where Lanez was confronted by fellow inmate Santino Casio. What followed was a brutal assault that left Lanez with 14 stab wounds, 7 to his back, 4 to his torso, 2 to the back of his head, and 1 to the left side of his face. The severity of the attack caused both of Lanez's lungs to collapse, requiring immediate emergency medical intervention. The alleged attacker, identified as 42-year-old Santino Casio, has a lengthy history of violent behavior, both inside and outside prison walls, serving a life sentence with the possibility of parole for convictions, including second-degree murder and first-degree attempted murder. Casio had previously been sentenced to additional time for violent incidents within the prison system. In 2008, he caught 6 years for assault by a prisoner with a deadly weapon, and in 2018, he was given 2 more years for possession or manufacture of a shank by a prisoner. Following the attack on Lanez, Casio was placed in restricted housing pending an investigation by CCI's Investigative Services Unit and the Kern County District Attorney's Office. Prison staff responded quickly to the attack, activating emergency protocols and providing immediate medical aid to Lanez. Due to the critical nature of his injuries, Lanez was airlifted to a civilian hospital in Bakersfield, where he was initially placed on a breathing apparatus. Haunting footage of Lanez being transferred from the helicopter to the hospital circulated online, providing a stark visual of the rapper in a vulnerable, life-threatening situation, a dramatic contrast to the confident persona he had cultivated throughout his career. One of the most notable aspects of this incident was the response from Lanez's family and legal team. On May 14, 2025, just 2 days after the stabbing, Lanez's father and representatives from Unite the People, a nonprofit organization supporting his legal case, held a press conference in Los Angeles. During this emotional gathering, they called for California Governor Gavin Newsom to pardon Lanez or commute his sentence, citing the stabbing as evidence of the dangers he faces in prison. The press conference took an unexpected turn when Lanez's legal team claimed to have new evidence in the Megan Thee Stallion shooting case. They referenced a statement from a man named Bradley James, who allegedly claimed to be the bodyguard of Kelsey Harris, a witness in the 2020 shooting, and stated that Harris let off the burner while Lanez attempted to knock it away. This claim has not been verified by authorities, and Megan Thee Stallion's attorney, Alex Spiro, promptly dismissed it, stating that Lanez's case was properly adjudicated by a jury.
After over 2 years in prison without incident, Tory was stabbed 14 times just days after a major national news outlet reached out to Megan Pete's team, Kelsey Harris, and former DA George Gascon about a story on new evidence in this case. You don't have to believe in conspiracies to see the pattern. When evidence was about to come to light, Tory was nearly killed.
The timing of the stabbing raised questions and fueled speculation. Lanez's legal team noted that the attack occurred just days after a major national news outlet had reached out to Megan Thee Stallion's team, Kelsey Harris, and former District Attorney George Gascon about a story on new evidence in Lanez's case. While no direct connection has been established, this coincidence contributed to conspiracy theories among Lanez's supporters, some of whom suggested the attack might have been orchestrated to silence him. What makes this footage particularly haunting is how it captures Lanez at perhaps his most vulnerable moment, fighting for his life after a brutal attack, dependent on medical intervention and the care of others. The images of him being airlifted to the hospital, coupled with his father's emotional press conference, present a stark contrast to the confident, defiant figure seen in his music videos and social media posts. This vulnerability humanizes Lanez in ways that his artistic persona rarely allowed, forcing even his critics to confront the reality of his suffering. Hi, thanks for rocking with me. If you thought this video was wild, make sure you peep those other bangers showing up on your screen right now. They're just as fire, no cap. I'll catch you in the next video. Stay woke.